Reese, what an absolute embarrassment last night. What an absolute disaster from the moment you walked in the tunnel to the moment that game ended. You were just a walking meme the entire game. I'm sorry I had to say it, but it wasn't just you, Angel. It wasn't just you. We have a over a minute of bloopies, a 1 minute plus.
The WNBA is currently teetering on the absolute edge of total collapse, engulfed in public outrage and locker room venom after All-Star Weekend degenerated into an explosive war. At the epicenter of this nightmare stands Angel Reese, facing a blistering fan petition demanding her immediate removal for turning the showcase into a personal circus. As the backlash detonates across social media, backstage corridors echo with screaming matches and betrayals as rival players revolt against the massive hype machine. Angel Reese is reportedly in an unhinged fury, lashing out at staff and executives while her carefully constructed basketball empire crumbles around her. To understand the violent eruption currently tearing the WNBA apart, you have to rewind to the fragile foundation built on months of suffocating media hype, quiet resentment, and explosive locker room jealousy. Angel Reese did not just walk into the league. She invaded it like a hurricane, branding herself as the ultimate, untouchable centerpiece of modern women's basketball. Everywhere she stepped, camera crews followed, sponsors lined up with multi-million-dollar contracts, and social media exploded with worship from her devoted fanbase. She carried herself with an unapologetic, towering swagger, repeatedly declaring to the media that she was the single-handed driver of the league's unprecedented financial boom and skyrocketing television ratings. She demanded the royal treatment, strutting through arena tunnels in extravagant designer outfits and treating every routine regular season rebound like an historic, championship-winning achievement. But while the national media eagerly pushed her as the undisputed savior of the sport, a silent, bitter poison was slowly spreading through the veins of the locker rooms across the league. Veteran superstars who had spent a decade bleeding for the game, suffering low salaries, empty arenas, and brutal physical sacrifice were suddenly pushed into the shadows. Elite legends like Aya Wilson, who had quietly built Hall of Fame resumes through pure skill and dominant execution, watched in growing disbelief as Reese's unearned superstar narrative eclipsed real athletic mastery. The media machine artificially manufactured a glittering crown for Reese, while completely ignoring her painful, glaring flaws on the basketball court. Game after game, basketball purists cringed as she repeatedly missed open, uncontested layups, struggled with basic footwork, and put up astonishingly low efficiency numbers that would get any other rookie benched instantly. Yet, any attempt to criticize her game was instantly shielded by her army of aggressive fans and a league office obsessed with marketing her personality over actual basketball mechanics. Behind closed doors, the tension was reaching an absolute boiling point long before All-Star Weekend even began. Text chains between rival players burned with harsh ridicules and mounting frustration as executives openly favored Reese, granting her special VIP treatment, private transport, and preferential scheduling. Fellow stars began to feel like secondary props in the Angel Reese reality show, forced to nod and smile while a player who couldn't reliably score inside the paint received all the national spotlights. Reese, entirely immune to self-reflection, mistook corporate protection for genuine basketball supremacy, completely alienating her peers with relentless boasts and aggressive trash talk in public broadcasts. She genuinely believed she was invincible, untouchable, and forever immune to a reality check from the very fans who built her up. But deep beneath the glitz and glamour, the raw, explosive resentment of an entire league and millions of frustrated basketball purists was silently coiling like a viper, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and tear down the illusion once and for all. When the All-Star Showcase finally tipped off, the artificial bubble surrounding Angel Reese burst on national television in the most horrifying way possible. What was supposed to be her crowning moment rapidly transformed into a nightmarish, 9-minute train wreck of total basketball incompetence. On possession after possession, Reese looked completely lost, staggering across the floor while elite defenders effortlessly exposed her every limitation. The turning point came when Aya Wilson stood perfectly still, effortlessly swatting Reese's weak layup attempt out of the air without even jumping, and then openly put her hand over her mouth to suppress a humiliating laugh right in Reese's face. Reese finished the showcase with a stomach-churning stat line: 0 points, missed field goals, and a series of awkward, clumsy stumbles that immediately went viral. As the final buzzer sounded, the internet exploded with ruthless memes, roasts, and brutal commentary. But the true catastrophe struck just 30 minutes after the game inside the arena's executive suites. A furious group of diehard fans launched a massive online petition demanding Reese's immediate ban from future All-Star appearances, accusing the league of corrupt favoritism and forcing a non-scoring viral personality onto a stage reserved for true basketball legends. Within hours, the petition gained over 100,000 signatures, creating an unstoppable media avalanche that sent WNBA executives into a state of blind panic. Unable to handle the public humiliation, Reese stormed down the back corridors toward the press room, screaming at league officials and demanding they issue a formal statement suppressing the petition. But as she rounded the corner toward the locker room, she overheard hushed, frantic voices coming from inside a private office. Peeking through the cracked door, her blood turned to ice. Standing inside was none other than WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, locked in an intense, secretive discussion with Reese's own veteran teammates and rival superstars. Reese froze as she heard the terrifying truth. The petition had not been created by random angry fans on the internet. It had been secretly orchestrated, drafted, and funded from inside the league by a cabal of high-ranking WNBA insiders and veteran players who wanted to publicly destroy her reputation and strip away her multi-million-dollar endorsement power. The shocking reveal hit Reese like a physical blow. Her entire rise, her superstar status, and her all-star selection had been deliberately allowed to set up the most devastating public downfall in sports history. Overwhelmed by shock, rage, and a terrifying feeling of utter isolation, Reese kicked open the door, face red with tears, screaming at the conspiracy in front of her. But before she could even process the betrayal, the commissioner turned to her with a cold, sinister expression and delivered a jaw-dropping ultimatum that threatened to erase her entire career overnight. The atmosphere inside the executive suite turned suffocatingly cold as Commissioner Cathy Engelbert looked Angel Reese dead in the eye and delivered her ruthless ultimatum: accept a mandatory public apology script taking blame for the disastrous All-Star performance, or face an immediate, indefinite league suspension under a freshly drafted brand protection and behavioral misconduct clause. The message was crystal clear. The league was willing to completely sacrifice Reese to save its own rapidly deteriorating credibility. Trembling with pure, unadulterated rage, Reese refused to play the sacrificial lamb. She slammed her fists onto the glass table, screaming that she had built the league's modern audience with her own blood, sweat, and star power, before storming out into the dimly lit hallway, vowing to burn the entire establishment to the ground. Desperate to fight back and expose the internal sabotage, Reese immediately huddled with her inner circle to launch a massive counteroffensive. She ordered her team to leak internal league emails, player group chats, and confidential executive memos to friendly media outlets, preparing to expose every single insider involved in funding the petition. For 12 agonizing hours, Reese barricaded herself in her luxury suite, obsessively monitoring social media as her loyal fan army began rallying to counter-petition. She felt a surge of vengeful triumph, believing she was about to completely dismantle the dark cabal of veteran players and executives who had dared to cross her. Then, at 3 a.m., the second and most horrifying betrayal struck from where she least expected it. A major sports news network dropped an explosive, jaw-dropping leak containing confidential audio recordings recorded inside Reese's private locker room and personal strategy calls. The voice on the recording was unmistakably Reese, captured off guard, making shockingly arrogant and disparaging remarks about her own teammates, mocking the league's legacy players, and bragging about how she easily manipulated WNBA leadership for personal financial gain. The leak was an absolute nuclear bomb that shattered her remaining credibility instantly. But the true, sickening twist wasn't just the audio. It was the source of the recording. Audio forensic markers and timestamps revealed that the secret recordings had been secretly captured and sold to the press by her closest confidant and primary teammate, the very person who had stood beside her in every press conference and comforted her during her post-game breakdown. Reese stared at her phone in utter horror as her closest ally turned off her phone and disappeared into the night. She hadn't just been targeted by league executives or rival players. Her own inner sanctuary had been thoroughly infiltrated. Surrounded by leaking walls, facing a complete revolt from her locker room, and with the public petition crossing 500,000 signatures, Angel Reese realized she was utterly alone, completely trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. The catastrophic leak sent shockwaves through the global sports landscape, triggering an unprecedented media meltdown that shattered Angel Reese's public image beyond recognition. Within minutes of the audio release, sports news networks preempted scheduled broadcasts to analyze every single arrogant syllable, while viral social media trends viciously ripped her character to shreds. Major corporate sponsors began severing ties in real time, pulling million-dollar billboard campaigns and dropping endorsement deals overnight to escape the radioactive fallout. Outside her team hotel, swarms of aggressive paparazzi and angry fans gathered, shouting demands for her permanent ban while waving printed banners of the infamous petition. The media machine that had once crowned her as the undisputed queen of women's basketball had officially turned into a bloodthirsty tribunal, devouring her legacy live on national television. Inside the team locker room, the atmosphere degenerated into absolute, toxic anarchy. When Reese attempted to attend the morning shoot-around, her teammates refused to take the floor with her, staging an immediate, cold-blooded walkout. Respected veterans openly confronted her in front of coaching staff, calling her a cancer to the culture and demanding that ownership trade her away immediately. The raw, unfiltered hatred in the room was overwhelming. No one looked at her as a teammate anymore, but as an unbearable liability who had humiliated the entire organization. Reese, usually armed with unbreakable swagger, suffered a massive emotional breakdown right on the sidelines, sobbing hysterically as the reality of her total isolation crashed down upon her. Desperate to contain the raging firestorm, the WNBA League office released an emergency public statement announcing a formal internal investigation into Reese's conduct and team dynamic, effectively placing her career on life support. The petition had now crossed an astronomical milestone, becoming the most signed athletic boycott in women's sports history. Commentators, former legends, and rival players lined up on sports broadcasts to deliver damning eulogies of her career, declaring that her ego had officially destroyed her talent. As night fell, Reese retreated into complete darkness, trapped in her hotel room with the curtains drawn, endlessly scrolling through millions of brutal messages telling her she was finished. The glamorous illusion of her untouchable status had completely disintegrated, leaving behind a broken, humiliated young star who had lost her locker room, her sponsorships, and her fans in a matter of hours. But just as the world prepared to write the final obituary on her basketball career, a secret, high-encrypted notification popped up on her private tablet, a message from an anonymous whistleblower containing a classified file that would completely shatter everything the public thought they knew about the scandal. Hands shaking hysterically, Angel Reese opened the encrypted file sent by the anonymous whistleblower, expecting to find evidence of her teammates' deceit. Instead, the document revealed a conspiracy far more sinister than a simple locker room mutiny. The file contained classified financial ledgers, private emails, and wire transfer records directly connecting high-ranking WNBA executives to an elite offshore sports betting syndicate. The petition, the secret locker room audio leaks, and the coordinated media smear campaign were not born from genuine fan outrage or player jealousy. They were a meticulously engineered illusion designed to artificially manipulate point spreads, sabotage ticket sales, and tank team stock values for massive financial payout. The jaw-dropping realization hit Reese like a freight train. She had been deliberately chosen as the ultimate target because her high-profile persona made her the perfect lightning rod to distract the world while millions of dollars were laundered right beneath the public's nose. The petition signatures had been massively inflated by automated bot networks owned by the very executives who claimed to protect the league's integrity. Every piece of public humiliation she endured over the past 48 hours had been orchestrated to force her suspension, ensuring guaranteed outcomes for high-stakes international gambling rings. Driven by a dangerous cocktail of blinding rage and newfound clarity, Reese printed the damning evidence, ready to hold an unannounced, live-streamed press conference that would tear down the entire corporate structure of the WNBA. She marched toward the arena press room in the dead of night, determined to expose the executives, ruin the betting syndicate, and reclaim her name. But as she pushed through the heavy double doors into the dimly lit auditorium, the room was not empty. Sitting alone at the podium, illuminated by a single spotlight, was Caitlin Clark, holding a microphone and surrounded by a dozen security guards blocking every exit. Clark looked up with a cold, unreadable expression, revealing that she wasn't just aware of the whistleblower file. She was the one who had leaked it to Reese in the first place. But before Reese could speak, Clark quietly leaned into the microphone and uttered a terrifying warning. "You think you're exposing them, Angel? Look at the bottom of page 10. Your signature is already on the master contract." Reese frantically flipped to the final page, her heart stopping as she saw her own official signature granting approval to the syndicate months ago. Did she unknowingly sign her own arrest warrant? Or had she been framed from the very beginning? Is Angel Reese the innocent victim of a dark corporate trap? Or did she secretly sign off on the biggest scandal in sports history? The WNBA will never be the same after this nuclear revelation, and the truth is tearing the entire basketball world apart right now. Was she set up by her rivals, framed by the league, or did her own ambition lead to her total downfall? We need to hear from you down in the comments. Drop your thoughts right now. Do you think Angel Reese should be permanently banned from the league, or is she being framed by the corrupt corporate machine? Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single second as this explosive saga unfolds live. What really happened on page 10? Let us know below.